And I am this cascade, this crescendo, this waterfall of words like waves, like water, like wine, slipping through the taste of taste, erasing the line between the music and the listening, the dance and the dancers, between love and the lovers. Every word ignites a flood of memory, of stories that swirls us, sweeps us into a lover's dance where we sing and press our hearts into each other's book of memories and truly become each other. We are this longing to touch, to dance, and dissolve into each other. Words that paint us are as thick as thought. Love dissolves the lines that sing us, and when we finally meet, we are no more. There is a terrible feathered grace that consumes you with her softly petaled wings. The sharpness of her teeth, her rapaciousness, her desire is your own love. In looking for love for other, love is chasing you. Perhaps you are really running away. Love slides into love. Love is an ocean without a shore, or surface, or bottom. Deep currents, warm and wonderful, pour through each other. Shimmering reflections seem to appear and dance, and ripples bloom and recede. And this beauty, these feelings, can never be caught, as there is nothing but ocean, nothing but love. Rivers of words overflow their banks of meaning, and love floods her indelible wetness into your eyes. Waterfalls, water falls. Tears slide into these love songs, and through their own wetness, the wetness of your eyes reflects this lover's song, illuminating the tall trees waltzing slowly on the distant hills, cascading down into the burning desert where winds have no branches to hold their breath. Your breath is mine, your heart is mine. We emerge and merge in the singing, the sharing of our tales, the stories that spin this dreamscape, the magic spell of love. Words suspended, a slow motion love song gently, softly, falling into and through our hearts. Feathers of wind sing your name, and you find yourself soaring, and morning pours through its own reflection on the window and floods my eyes. Love falls in love with love as we merge in the golden. This love we share, this love we are, this love that burns all ideas of love, in the tears, in the smiles, in the deep, deep grief of love, singing your broken heart. Love bursts all boundaries, explodes into herself, sings her name through your beautiful lips, your tongue, your heart, that was never yours. It is these very words, these very lines, that never divide the page, the screen, but appear to paint a backdrop of time and space upon which they flow and dance and twirl all things and their absence into songs that pour down through their own letters and melt the lines and squiggles into mountains and endless sky and clouds. And as someone who wishes to soar and dissolve into sky and remove the clouds of heartbreak and feel the sun cascade through all shadows, but only with light can the shadows seem to hide in the deep recesses of your heart. Nothing is hidden and nothing can be revealed, as all is always only as it seems. Whatever feeling and thought seem to appear, there is the simultaneous, inseparable recognition of it, and it can feel like there is a someone separate from the seeing and tasting and feeling, and it can feel like there is not. And there is no chooser of feelings, is there? So how could there be a separate one who feels? What illuminates the dark? What makes the idea of dark but the idea of light? What makes ideas but thought, which even paints itself? Thought twists and twirls and dances, and what a beautiful dreamscape it paints. There is no me to be love and lone love to be, but in this dreamscape, this worded world, this enchantment, dancing, yes, here we are, loving each other, and that is most magnificent. Sky lace weaves the trees into wind songs that pour through the horizon, dissolving the moon and sun into a crescendo of breathless beauty, hovering on the edge of sound, of madness, of nothing at all. Bottomless tears melt the earth and rip apart light into shards of brilliance, falling into spirals of incoherent murmurings, the sea left behind. Love unravels her nakedness as life crochets itself into a serenade of love, cascading through waterfalls of colors that used to clothe the world in a crayon box. Coloring in a child, yearning to learn what colors were. She swam through whirlpools and floated down the stream of wonder as the longing to capture the clouds and paint the longing with rainbows receded into tides of moon songs. And words of distant clouds and thunder gathered forgotten rainbows that painted her into this dreamscape, drowned and adorned with love's gentle embrace. There are simply no things for names to stick to. The worded world is all we have, all we can know, as we are the dream of separation. But when separation is not felt and seems to arise only in the languaging, not being able to and not looking to pinpoint a feeling, the idea of there being separate feelings seems ludicrous, but this is not the absence of feeling, as there is feeling deeply, magnificently, humanly, but unowned and not separate from the symphony of perception, as there is no feeling that there is a separate person who feels. I have no idea what I am feeling, yet the words "I love you" arise whenever I am asked. Who would want to capture love? Reaching out for love to understand is what seems to perpetuate the illusion that you are separate from love. The belief that life, that love can be understood, that there is some solidity to find, and always missing it. It is the belief that there is an other than what seems to appear that creates the illusion of a doer, a door, a gate, an other, a next, a place to be, an enlightenment to attain. And yet you are that belief. You cannot erase it. Tears slice the sky into prisms of color, bleeding through the lines. The pages of your life dissolve. They could never be held in your hand, so you could pluck this elusive aliveness and press it in between the words. These love letters hide no secrets. What is whispering these words? Your heart sings in this murmuration of thought, sourceless echoes twirling across the shattering sky. Colors bloom and wilt, and yet no flower can be plucked. No petals hold their light and softness. There is no background upon which love dances, and no love dancing in this ethereal dreamscape of thought. Love eviscerates you and burns herself in her own fire, and yet love kisses you back into the dream and sings your name, and you cannot find any sounds separate from the symphony. No note can hear itself. We arise in the chorus, the interweaving of words into songs, into a dance, hovering, suspended, a dream of clouds forming and dissolving without a background of sky, suspended on the edge of sound and silence, floating on the tip of a feather between love and nothing at all. Velvet dreams its own softness and cannot touch it. Light cannot bask in its own brilliance. It is it. Love cannot gather itself into a bouquet of unutterable beauty. Tears fall as petals of gentle velvet tendrils slowly unravel, all knowing of softness. There is no mystery, no unknown or known, as there is no knower and no things, nor their absence. Sun slides through echoes of moon and leaves a fingerprint of light rippling across the surfaceless sea. And it is all shimmering illusion, a mirage where rainbows flow through you as you are rainbows flowing. We slide into and through the sides of colors, into this very breath. We arise in the sharing of stories and dissolve into the liquid dreamscape of love. I was listening to a scientist explain how he had thought the universe to be understandable, how he sought and learned and learned and learned and began to see that the world did not act in a rational manner, that it was wild and unknowable. All the lines his mind threw into the water never caught the wetness, the magic, the something he had sought his entire life. Yet instead of his world unraveling, he said that he began to see the divine, and his new explanation, his new understanding was that God was the intelligence, and he, as a puny self, could never know. Why, for some reason, there is an unraveling of all belief and all handholds, for others there is not. And as this doesn't happen to you, as there is no you separate from the dream to understand or to choose belief, the piano plays and ripples stream across the moon, and sometimes there is a howling. The other notion we find is that enlightenment is a disassociation, and that to feel unembodied is the goal. Becoming a non-self who, or that, is not these thoughts and feelings. When we are indeed these thoughts and feelings, no one exists as a non-self. We exist only as selves. What happens is the belief and feeling of separation dissolves. Dawn erupts in the canyon of dreams. Empty breath of echoes sings my heart into this ocean song. Softly purring currents plumb the bottomless, cascading upwards in a rush of sky falling into its own collapse. No knowing can be found underneath the words that paint the rippling. No water can be found that could reflect your infinite beauty. No beauty can be found or lost in this tsunami of love resonating deeply in places you cannot find or separate from the dream of this and that. As love saturates the dream, as it dissolves the imaginary lines between sea and sky and you and me and love. Love is blissful to itself. The depths and the heights rip each other's heart out. Or is it your heart that has broken and scattered dreams of love across the rippling? Love floods the tsunami of ocean song pouring through itself. I love this infinite intimacy of life, exploding and imploding without a center or edge or any actual thing ever appearing. Some say there is no self ad nauseum, and it makes the listener want to become one, a non-entity who somehow drifts through the dream without care. It is more like there is no one to care or not, yet caring happens. Love happens. And yet love is made up, and that is wondrous. That all these words seem to paint all these wonderful things, sunsets and blood and tears and longing, and well also the feeling that there are no things under the clothes of thought. There is no feeling of a disembodied persona floating. Simply no feeling of separation whatsoever. Is there ever any reason for tears? Need there be? Sunset burns the last threads of color. Night hides in the echoes of yesterday's clouds. Shadows bloom and recede. Weight of darkness drenches your heart, drowning in the absence of color and light. Where is the spark of aliveness but in the extinguishing glow of memory you cannot find? As you are this very blooming and wilting, twirling thought dream, pouring color and light through itself, the intoxication of moon songs that seem to linger on the tip of your tongue. Trying to figure out the world, to decipher the universe, is a life of trying to find the key to a door that exists only because there is a belief that there is an other side, a next, something better, something more, although a next has never been found. Trying to find love, to capture this elusive rainbow, to dance the magic of color is the magic, but can never be seen or heard or tasted, as it is in the seeing, not separate from the seen, the listening not separate from the song, the tasting not separate from the juiciness of life pouring through the tips of your fingers, the delicate wetness of your eyes. You are not separate from the liquidity of life. The seeing and the seen are not separated by words, merely lines drawn on water by thought, which has no substance or weight, nor does the river of life, a watercolor dream dancing in you, as you, through you. And it is beautiful, this passion play of life, which has no actual solidity or liquidity, and no one who it pours through. It is indeed a dance, a ballet, a pirouette of words that seem to circle around a center, but there is no center outside of the word center, and there is no edge outside of the word edge, and no you or me outside of these words, gently lapping the empty beaches in this dream of love, of endless oceans and forever skies, plunging through the weight of light and burning itself in its own flames. He looked for the flower of life in books and stories, in ancient songs, in petals bound into rosaries of prayer, counting the days until he would finally find what he knew not, but felt it was on the tip of his tongue, in the tips of his fingers, waiting for the words that would pierce his heart so deeply there would be no returning to the dream he desperately wanted to escape. When the beads and his fingers were worn and tattered, the petals fell, and there was no counting them any more. His world fell apart along with his heart, and love streamed through the empty places, erasing even itself, and tears fell into the petaled softness, and his heart never stopped weeping. There is no inside or outside to love. Spinning through itself, tears drown in their own wetness. The net of neurons, dancing chemical electrical patterns, such tender, delicate beauty, weaving my heart into an explosion of love. Tears cascade through their own wetness and wash the universe with love as it anoints and erases its own absence. The kiss falls into and through the kiss. Infinity loops around itself and shatters into a dream of no tomorrow. Echoes of fading fall through the bottomless. The end of belief in the heartbeat of this and that is not the end of love. It is the beginning of a love song shimmering in the wind, joyously surfing the mind waves of its own demise. The purr never leaves as it unwinds all rainbows, melting colors into the wind, tossing reflections into a paper cup where lovers drank a book of poems and sailed into each other's hearts. Losing themselves, they lost each other. Thought circles, spirals into itself. There is no way out or into love, as love has no center or sides. Prisms shatter the kaleidoscope of poems, dreaming light reflections into the scattering sky. Rivulets of song flow into and out of the words that never touched the sky they painted. Light and color slide out of the soundscape of clouds, pirouetting into sky, reaching into a book that slipped out of its covers. And the night felt so cold. Stars lost their fingerprints and whirled into your heart, and words tossed handfuls of sky across the golden. The curtain closes and footlights dim. Shadows dance across the stage and sing your name, but you cannot answer. It is all a love song, this breath, this kiss, this heartbreak. We are liquid crystalline, surging and receding without solidity or emptiness, bleeding into each other's dream. And in the waving, the looping, the cascade ascending, hearts explode into this rush, this zing, this amazing hello, goodbye of life. You are the seeking and the belief in that elusive next. There is no letting go or holding on. The belief unties itself, and the imaginary knot that held you in its grasp disappears. You never were. All things exist in the naming of them. Even the idea that there is an outside to the languaging is an idea. That there are words is just words. That there is thought is thought. Singing about something that has no words indicates that there is a thing that has no words. Talking about something which cannot be described or sung about seems to create an unsingable thing. There is not even nothing beyond description, and beyond is description, as well as nothing and description. Thought dances the morning through the clouds it paints. No one is wandering along the thought stream thinking about thought, painting starlight in our eyes, blinding us to the light that is everywhere and nowhere at all. Thought becomes part of the beautiful dreamscape and underbutter of love, beating our hearts with feathered grace and our breath with a dream of wind. We are the stories, the imaginary trail of thought, of memory, leading nowhere, beginning nowhere. And in sharing our stories, we become each other. But we can never be separate and touch. We dissolve into each other and disappear as selves. Words paint the heavens and stars, pouring through their own light, dissolving the words. We and our world disappear. Nothing is as it seems, nor is it not. I see you. I love you. I am you.